Wednesday.
Good morning to you. This is Kay Adams with you till 12 on BBC Radio Scotland. It is Wednesday the 15th of May and a report published today has raised big questions over the provision of additional support learning in schools.
Autistic children and young people are forced to fail in mainstream settings before they're offered support. They are forced often to leave school. And
pupils with additional support needs, which is why spending on additional support for learning reached a record high of 926 million. Last year, the total number of support staff in Scotland rose to 17,330, and there were also 2,998 teachers across all sectors with additional support needs as their main subject in 2023. They also say that ministers will consider the report in full. Still to come.
This is a podcast where a parent and an adult child discuss something they've rarely, if ever, talked about before.
Yeah, does the apple fall far from the tree? We'll be speaking to podcaster Vogue Williams about that.
Help! I need somebody.
2, 3.
Wait. What's the first line again?
Help.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2.
Help!
No, wait.
Sorry.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Help! I need somebody. Help! Not just anybody. Help! You know I
We
need
have
someone.
help in our consumer rights surgery with consumer rights expert Martin James. If you paid good money and you got a bad deal, give him a call. And
Just keep breathing.
we have our daily breather because we're going to need it with the Euros coming up. Scots are apparently going to Germany, so we'll get the tips and tricks to thrive.
On BBC Radio Scotland.
Worth playing in full. Tributes are coming in for Gudrun Muir, who of course was super grand star of the beloved 1980s children's show. She has passed away at the age of 98, and of course Super Gran had superpowers after she was struck by a magic ray, and she had a legion of devoted young fans. It was an ITV series ran from 1985 through to 1987. So in honour of Gudrun Muir's passing, what makes your granny super? Because I guess lots of us think we've got a super gran, don't we? My gran made the best Victoria sponge ever. I don't care what you say about your gran, I'm sure theirs was absolutely fine. But my gran made the best Victoria sponge ever. We did a run around the office in this morning, actually. What made your gran super? What made your gran super? And the stories came thick and fast. For Alex, his gran could always get him to sleep. Well, that's a good trick. Jess's gran rode a motorcycle until she was 81. That's pretty super. Rory's gran, I don't know if Rory's gran qualifies, quite frankly, because she put heaps of sugar on his bowl of cornflakes as a snack before bed. That sounds like my own mum, who used to sneak the kids off to McDonald's despite my entreaties not to. So there we go. Come on, what made your gran super? And it is often the littlest things, isn't it? Text 80295.
Yellow diamonds in the light, and we're standing side by side as a shadow crosses mine. What it takes to come alive. It's the way I'm feeling, I just can't deny. But I gotta let it go. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place. We found love in a hopeless place.
I'm just listening to Rihanna featuring Calvin Harris, We Found Love. Thinking about my granny, actually, and thinking about other things that made my granny super, because you're not getting in touch about your granny, so I'm just going to blooming little wax lyrical about my granny. Bramble and apple jelly. She made the best bramble and apple jelly ever. And also, and this is so weirdly Scottish, she used to sing me to sleep in bed by singing hymns. It's slightly Angela Ashes, that one, isn't it? But anyway, it got me off to sleep. Didn't get me into hymns, unfortunately, but it did the trick. So tell us, what made your gran super? And this is in tribute, of course, to Gudrun Muir, who has passed away at the age of 98, the original super gran. But tell us about the super gran in your family. Because we're talking families now. You'll have heard the expression, the apple never falls far from the tree. It refers to offspring who kind of follow their parents' path or kind of are in their image, aren't there? I don't know how much truth there is in it. But in her latest venture, podcaster Vogue Williams is interrogating that question. She joins us now. Morning, Vogue.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. Do you have a super gran in your family you'd like to share with us?
Do you know what I do? Both my grannies are great. They kind of let me away with murder, but my kids' grannies are absolutely amazing. And we're always grateful for them. But my granny, I remember I used to get to go and stay in her house, and we'd be brought to the supermarket and we'd be allowed to choose like 3 things that we wanted, anything that we wanted, and we'd be stuffing our face with these Rolo yogurts and stuff that we'd never have been allowed to have. So it was just about getting away with whatever we wanted with our granny, which was great.
Yeah, no, your granny can spoil you, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, listen, this is a bit of a departure for you, isn't it? Because you've got 2 very successful podcasts already, which are pretty kind of roustabout stuff, whereas this is a bit more, I say a bit more thoughtful. I'm not trying to be insulting to your other podcast, but do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Don't worry, I'm not insulted. This is one I'd prefer my mother to listen to this one if I have to choose. This podcast is a podcast that I think about. I was out for dinner last night and I ended up bringing up one of the families that were on it. It's a conversation between a parent and an adult child, and it's something that they might never have spoken about before but really wanted to talk about. So you're kind of listening in on these conversations. We tried to get to everyone's home so they felt more comfortable chatting, and it's just like some of the stories are really, really sad, but so many of them are super uplifting, and you'll just feel kind of happy after listening to it. And there's just so many different topics that we cover. The last one that we had was we had a guy with motor neurons disease, and he got it when he was 30, and his mum was kind of helping him out and stuff like that. And he's 32 and he's in a wheelchair now. And they were having that conversation around when he got his diagnosis and how it affected their family, and also about when he came out to his parents and what they thought. So it's really nice I'm very nosy anyway. Like, I love listening in on people's conversations, and I think it's really brave to be able to sit there and have a conversation like that with your family, because I don't know if I could do that myself. I don't know if my mum would like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, these are obviously intensely personal kind of conversations that you're listening in on. I mean, from your point of view, do you sometimes think, should I be here? Should this be, out there in the world, or just stay between them?
I think the conversations are so, they're just really beautiful conversations. And they're conversations that they wanted to have, and that have changed their lives a little bit. And I know, particularly back to the Alex who has motor neurons, they kind of want that forever, because it will be a reminder for them of him eventually. It was their thoughts behind it. And some people just got a lot out of it. Like, there was an episode with a woman called Lois who had a really, really bad upbringing, and her and her daughter kind of discussed that whole thing. And that's her daughter's granny, but a lot of really upsetting things happened to her mother. So it was even interesting to listen to that, and how having a conversation like that can change things in your family and can actually make it better, instead of kind of brushing things under the rug, which I think a lot of us do, you, myself included.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That sometimes people who want to have a conversation with another one individual, somebody very close, and actually to have a third person there. And some people will do this in counselling, won't they? I mean, I guess that's the basic premise of counselling, that for some reason, the way we're wired as humans, you want that other just kind of human presence there.
Yeah, well, they had a couple of people there with them. So they were kind of like, and it was their first time doing podcasts. So when you listen to it, it's kind of amazing to see how quickly they adapted and how natural they were with their conversation. But it just shows that they really wanted to have the conversation and to try and make a difference for themselves and to help other people as well. Because Sam and Lack, like Sam came out to his dad and he was really worried that it would be considered shameful within his community. And his dad was just incredible how he handled it and how like he just wanted to make his son feel better. And their relationship was just really, really lovely. And it was like, for anyone whose child maybe they think might be gay or might want to come out, like, it's just nice to listen to a conversation like that.
So, I mean, can you contribute in this situation? You know, or are you asking questions, or are you just kind of listening?
No, we're listening. They're just they're just having their own conversation and chatting, and it's really, really free flowing, and you kind of just let them roll with it, which I think is the best way to do it. You don't want to constantly, like, no one should be there interviewing them. It's their thing. It's what they wanted to talk about, and they kind of steer the conversation.
So what do you get from? I know it's a job at the end of the day, but you know, when you're actually sitting with people who are sharing deeply, deeply personal experiences, it becomes more than a job, doesn't it? Yeah, it's a real human experience. What do you get from it?
I feel really privileged to be able to do this because it's such an amazing idea. I loved the idea behind it. And as soon as I got asked if I wanted to do it, I kind of jumped at the chance. It feels like just a really enjoyable, nice listen, because there's so much noise in the world all the time about things happening. And it's nice to actually just get back to the basics and just listen to actual real conversations between people about subjects that really matter to them. And for me, I just like, it kind of seeps into my own life sometimes, because some of the stories really, really stick with you. And as I said, I was talking about one last night because you just think about it. And it's that kind of sense as well. In some of the instances, it's like you think, like you kind of wouldn't want to take anyone else's problems on as well. Like there's a lot of people going through things that they're struggling with as well. And nobody should really feel alone. And I think there's that too. But that's what I find with podcasts anyway. When I listen to them, it's like company in my ear. So if I go for a run, I kind of listen to podcasts now. And if I'm on the tube, I'll always have a podcast. I always have somebody in my ear talking.
Yeah. It's that intimacy that they manage to create that I think really appeals to you, particularly if you're on your own, walking or running or, you know, travelling or whatever. But you don't think you'd be a candidate for your own podcast then?
Do you know what? I think there are definitely conversations in my family that probably should be had. But now saying that, like, it's not like we're a super close family. My mum, I speak to her like 3 times a day sometimes. My sister's my very best friend. So it's not like we have any bad feelings towards each other. We all love each other, but there's probably a few things that we could iron out, but I don't imagine it will happen in this lifetime.
Well, but I think, you know, going back to the podcast, whilst you might be listening to a story that is not your story, just the fact that you are listening to people who are sitting down and addressing something probably will make people reflect a little bit on whether or not there is a deeply hidden conversation that you've just kind of buried a little bit because you're getting on with life and everything's fine. Yeah. You know, let's not rock the boat. Yeah, everything's good. Rock the apple cart if we're carrying on with apples. But I guess, you know, you might listen to this and you think, oh, maybe we should get that one out. I don't know. I know. Do you know what? I think about it for like with my own kids as they grow older. It's nice to see, particularly Sam and Lack. I just thought that that was such a lovely conversation to listen to. And if any of my kids were feeling that way, it's such a nice thing for someone to listen to and be like, it's okay. Like things are going to be okay. You don't have to worry about it. So yeah, I'm really proud of this podcast. I think it's an incredible listen, and I think the guests have been amazing and so open, and fair play to them, because as I said, I don't think I'd be able to do it with my own family. We'll plod along. Yet, Vogue, yet. You might get a phone call from your mum, you don't know. I'm going to ring my mum right now. Listen, darling, I was just thinking. Well, it does sound a fascinating podcast. It's right up my alley. It is called The Apple and the Tree, and it is available now. It came out on the 19th of April, so I think there's at least 4 episodes up there already to listen to. Vogue, thank you very much indeed. Speak soon. Bye. Thank you so much. Bye. See you later. Bye. Bye.
almost time to party, so we're making sure you're ready for one big weekend in Dundee. You know it will be heavy. There's 2 full days of music and we know you'll be impressed. Just make sure that you see Chris Moss, cause he will sound the best. The Chris Moyle Show. Chris, you're so modest.
It is 10:23. Kay Adams with you till 12 on BBC Radio Scotland. Anne, who's 66, has got in touch about her granny, her own personal super gran. She made the best pancakes / drop scones. Now, this is going to start an argument, isn't it? What is the difference between a pancake and a drop scone? Now, funnily enough, my granny always referred to them as drop scones. But she made the best pancakes / drop scones in the summer holidays. She'd have her 5 grandchildren and 4 nieces and nephews, coped with us all, 9 kids, in a house with no electricity. She taught me to knit, to play cards, etc. Very fond memories. My granny was a crocheter, actually, very good crocheter, and it was dominoes in our house. Thank you very much. God, it's funny. It's like Vogue was saying, once you start a conversation or you hear someone else's conversation, then it just sort of makes your brain start going as well. Oh, this is from John. It says, my gran had an old blackened skillet, and it has to be said like that, that she brought from the tenement that she lived in as a young mum with my mum. Some weekends we would stay with her, and I loved Sunday mornings waking up to the smell of breakfast cooking. Thinking back, I can almost taste the Belfast bacon that she got from her local butcher. Yeah, let's have some happy memories. Let's retreat to the past. Your super grand stories, 80295, still to come this morning.
Listening to some of the language they were using in the playground and some of the homophobic slurs they were using and things like that. And I know from my experience of teaching, it was something that I had to tackle with.
That is author Ian Eagleton. He's going to be joining us to tell us why playground talk matters to young LGBTQ+ children. And Martin James is here for our weekly consumer rights surgery. So whatever it is that you want to speak to Martin about, whether it is your energy bills, whether it is a phone bill, TV streaming, maybe something gone wrong with your car and you're not very sure if the garage is telling you the right thing. It can be any number of things. If you paid good money and you've got a raw deal, then Martin is the man to help. Give him a call, 08085 92 95 00. You can, of course, text 80295. But right now, it's Noah Khan.
Sound
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
It is 10:28. This is Kay Adams with you till 12 on BBC Radio Scotland. Time to say hello to our consumer rights expert, Martin James. Morning, Martin.
Good morning, Kay. Lovely to be back.
Yeah, no, lovely to have you with us. Did you enjoy Eurovision?
Oh, I enjoyed Eurovision so much that it's taken me till about today to recover. So just about there.
Well, that sounds like you had a good time. Now, we don't have any conundrums for you today because Karen's on our holly bags, and I usually like to put you on the spot. So I'm just going to put you on the spot with, do you have a super grand story for us?
Oh, I do indeed. And of course, Supergram was one of my favourite programmes growing up as well in the 80s. My mum on my gran on my dad's side was just the kindest, most lovely woman ever. She didn't have very much money, but she made every day, every time we visited her, she made it a big, big treat. And she had an ice cream maker, which back in 1857 when I was born. I know. So despite not having any money, she had this ice cream maker specifically for the grandkids so that she would make us ice cream. And it was just wonderful. And sadly, I never got to meet my gran on my mum's side, but that is where my Scottish ancestry comes from. She was a Dundee girl.
Oh, really?
And that's why my middle name's Cameron.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, she probably wouldn't have shelled out for an ice cream maker, to be honest. A bit fancy, you know what I'm saying? Oh, lovely. Yeah, well, keep them coming in, your super grand stories, 80295. The super grand in your family. And it's the same text number, of course, to get in touch with Martin if you want to speak to him about any consumer problems that you have had, anything that you have bought, and you've got a bit of a raw deal, then Martin will help you out. You can give him a call on 08085 92 95 00, and lines are open now. I'm taking calls from 11 o'clock. You know, Martin, just trying to always give people an idea of the kind of things that you can tackle, and that's why I kind of reduced it down to, you know, if you've paid good money and you got a raw deal, then give you a call because you cover absolutely everything. But perhaps a more unusual one that I hadn't really thought of, but now that it comes up, it is something that's relevant. The beauty industry. Very, very valuable industry in the UK. £24.5 billion it generated, I think, in the last year. And of course, non-surgical procedures and things have become very popular. What do you do if you go and you spend money on something like that and it doesn't go right? You know, do you have an obvious route to try and challenge that?
Well, not an obvious route, no, but there are loads of things you can check. And actually, funnily enough, I was writing about this recently for my column in The Times, and I started researching it, and it took a long time to look into this article, because there are so many things going on here. The regulation is all over the place. And actually, the people who are professionals, the ones that you really should be going to if you are considering having an aesthetic procedure, are really kind of quite militant about kind of the Wild West with the rest of the industry. The problem is, as I always say to people, if you have a look out your car window as you're driving around, chances are you'll probably see somewhere advertising some kind of aesthetic accentuation, you know, whatever euphemism you can think of. You'll spot quite a few of those as you're driving around. But there isn't like an exam that people can sit. You have to be a health practitioner if you're going to do injectables, for example. But there are lots of people who can just buy this stuff off the internet. So it's very difficult to check. And now there are official bodies that you can check. There's the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons. That's not one to say when you've watched Eurovision. And there are a number of other organisations as well where you can check to see if the person that you're going to is properly regulated. But any person offering these services should be very, very upfront about their medical background, their skills, what it is that the procedure involves. And most importantly, they are obliged to have a consultation with you and give you a chance to think about it. If somebody wants to get you straight up on the table after you've wandered in off the streets, that is a big warning sign.
But, I mean, what if it goes wrong? Because these are expensive procedures. And actually, you could probably extend it to the hairdressing world as well. You know, let's say you go and get your hair dyed and it's absolutely frightful, or you have some kind of, you know, reaction to what's been used. I mean, when it's done, it's done. Even if they were to give you your money back, you know, that's not going to reverse the situation.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the hair one is a really, really good one, actually, because yes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. There's a difference between kind of your expectations and what you get, or something actually going wrong. And, if you do have a reaction to, to some hair dye, for example, or the hair bleach or something, then that can, be very serious indeed. As a general rule, it comes down to what, it's reasonable to expect the person carrying out the procedure to have been able to have anticipated in advance. Now, if it's cosmetic surgery, be it actually full-on cosmetic surgery, or non-invasive, which is basically that's your injectables, your fillers, things along those lines, then basically they have to ask you a full questionnaire that you have to answer honestly, talking about allergies and everything else. They also have to tell you about the risks of the procedure. You usually have to kind of read through the whole list, which is a bit depressing, of all the things that can go wrong, just to kind of filter out the possibility of things like this actually happening. Now, the problem is as well, there's a huge rate. Going through the list and thought, oh, actually, maybe I'll have a think about this, because there's a whole range of things that could be injected into your face or your other bits and all of those things. So it makes sense to actually kind of look what those actually are, particularly with younger people as well. I get loads of questions asked about some of the more popular and terrifying procedures that people kind of go to foreign countries to have. And I think the important thing here is, in the UK, if things go wrong and it's a registered practitioner, then you could potentially go to court. We often talk about the small claims court on here. There are solicitors that specialise in personal, injury claims and things along those lines as well. But if you go abroad, then you really are potentially taking your life in your hands. So do not take a cosmetic surgery holiday under any circumstances. How badly you want those Turkish teeth.
Okay. All right. Well, that is buyer beware, isn't it? Martin, listen, thank you very much for that. Anything at all to do with you parting with your money, whether it is online, whether it's a procedure like that, whether it is your energy bill, your phone bill, whatever it is, something that you feel you've been given a raw deal, then Martin is here to help. So do give him a call. The lines are open now. 08085 92 95 00. You can text us on 80295.
We are living
the chorus there with So Young. And on that, actually, we're getting some really lovely memories in from about your own super grands. This is from Bob. He says, my maternal granny, Elizabeth Goodlett Wilkie, was born in August 1899 at the Grange of Lindorris in Fife, when her father, Charlie, was the shepherd. She was the eldest of 7, 89 when she died. She was a big influence on me as a youngster, watching her make soup, all sorts of jams and chutneys. And no matter who turned up at whatever time, she'd lay on a spread, and this, I love this line, get the China tea set out. Does anyone get the China tea set out anymore? Before disappearing into a tiny scullery, there's another good word, for a wee while before returning with freshly made pancakes and the most lovely griddle scones, all fresh, still warm and delicious. Really nice memories. And this one here, my granny came from the Isle of Rassay. She spoke Gaelic, was so capable. She brought up 4 children in Glenartney on minimal wages and a lot of imagination. We grandchildren had hare soup, pressed tongue, jam and scones. She kept hens and a goose, worked hard all her life. She was very frightened of thunder and lightning, and she and the budgie used to hide in a cupboard during a storm, and we loved her. She died in 1977. These are lovely stories. Keep them coming in. 80295. But to the present day, around half of Scottish school children have experienced or witnessed bullying based on sexuality or gender. This is according to a Scottish Government report in conjunction with the group Time for Inclusive Education, TIE. But what impact does that have? Ian Eagleton is the author of Glitter Boy, which is a novel for young people that explores those themes. And Jordan Daly is director of Time for Inclusive Education. Morning both, Ian and Jordan.
Morning, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you, good. Ian, I know you've got a new book out, which is The Boy Who Cried Ghost, but just talking about Glitter Boy, was this based loosely on your own experiences?
Very much so. The difference with Glitter Boy is that it was sort of transposed in the story to a primary school setting. My homophobic bullying took place mainly in secondary school, so from the ages of 11 to 18. So that's the main difference. But a lot of the homophobic language that I use in Glitter Boy is actually language that I heard when I was a primary school teacher. So it's based on my own experiences of bullying and also my experiences as a teacher of dealing with it, I think, as well.
And why did you feel it was so important to write about?
It's just something, I think there's a whole other conversation already bubbling about LGBTQ plus education anyway, but I think it's something that's so frightening and scary, and as a teacher I felt very ill-equipped to deal with it. You know, I grew up under the long shadow of Section 28, where teachers, schools weren't allowed to talk about anything relating to the LGBTQ plus community. So I know that I felt very excluded and othered. It really affected my mental health and led to a breakdown when I was 30. So it's just a way, I think, of one, highlighting the effect of it. And the bullying that James has experienced in Glitter Boy isn't punching or hitting. It's sort of being whispered about, people turning their backs to him, people excluding him, people using the word gay to describe things that they feel are rubbish or awful, and the message that that sort of sends to him as a kid struggling with his identity.
Yeah, I remember that expression from when my kids were primary school age and they're sort of young adults now. And I would say, well, why do people use that? You know, I don't necessarily want to repeat it, but using the word gay as a sort of something that is rubbish. And at a time that I was thinking, gosh, haven't we moved past that? And we do, just to bring you in, Jordan, I don't know, are we naive in thinking, oh, things have got better?
In some ways, yes, unfortunately. It is quite a common perception that younger generations are more accepting of LGBT people, and we can see that that's the case more broadly within wider society. We can see that in social attitudes polling, but certainly in schools, much of the issues that we've been talking about so far are absolutely still prevalent. Homophobia, for example, remains one of the most common forms of prejudice that all young people witness and experience at school, and that's consistent with about 3 decades now into academic research on the phenomenon of homophobia in school, and we see these same patterns time and time again. On use of language, just as you were talking there, Kay, about even this, phrase "that's so gay," this epithet that's thrown around quite frequently. We see that is still very common and very widespread within schools. So we work with primary and secondary schools across Scotland. We know anecdotally from our own work that homophobic language like that is very common, but we do also know in the Scottish Government report that you mentioned that was released last year that 82% of secondary school pupils reported that they regularly heard homophobic language or derogatory slurs about LGBT people at school. And worryingly too, 96% of primary school pupils said that they heard this as well. And when you speak to primary school pupils about the type of phrases and the type of language that they hear, it's this phrase, "that's so gay," or "you're so gay," where, the word gay is used as a replacement for words like negative or rubbish or bad. And I think it doesn't take an expert in child development to figure out the impact that type of casual embedded language can have, not only on a young person who might grow up to be gay or who is gay, but also on children and young people who have same-sex parents or gay family members. It's definitely impactful, and it is also a form of prejudice, and we know that homophobia, like all forms of prejudice, does escalate.
I mean, Ian, you were talking about your own experiences at school as a pupil and also as a teacher, and instances of bullying that you experienced and witnessed. And Jordan is talking there about casual use of language, and I'm not trying to say that one is less relevant than the other, but talking about the casual use, I mean, as a young person in school, just hearing in the playground language that made you feel uncomfortable, not necessarily directed at you, not that you were necessarily being picked on, but it was just there. What impact did that have?
Oh, it was awful. It was terrifying. And I think it meant that I didn't actually come out until I was about 17, 18. And I knew for certain from a very young age that I thought I was gay, but that therefore meant I was a terrible, awful person. And that there was no other option. There were no sorts of celebrations of the LGBTQ plus community in the curriculum or anything, and we weren't taught about any of the history. And all I heard was, that sort of phrase, "you're so gay," and terrible sort of homophobic language. So the message that I got was that it was something to be ashamed of, and that I was going to live a terrible, awful life on my own. And I remember my little brother asking me when I was about 13, "Do you want to get married and have kids?" And I said no, not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't realise that was an avenue for me. I just thought, oh, I'm gay, so therefore I'm an awful person and I'm on my own. So that's the only message I ever heard.
And then when you went into teaching, so we're 15, 20 years on from that, you didn't feel that it got that much better?
It was surprising because I know when I first started teaching, some parents weren't happy that I was a gay man in a primary school and didn't want their children in my class. And I was really shocked to hear older children in the primary school setting using homophobic language, and it was quite upsetting to me, and I never really realised why. And I went to my head teacher for a chat about it and said, I really need to deal with it, and started crying. And I said, I don't know why I'm crying. Nothing's happened to me. I completely sort of blocked out all my experiences that I'd had. So it really threw it up when I heard children using that language, and I sort of had to adapt my curriculum. And we were looking at World War II at the time with the children. So I brought in the story of Alan Turing and all his sort of amazing achievements, and talked to them about, the impact that he's had on the world, but how he was treated as a gay man as well. And I think that really brought it to life for them, that the language that they use, that we use, has consequences.
I mean, Jordan, what do you think we can do to change the school environment? for the better?
Well, we are in many ways very fortunate here in Scotland that we do actually live in a country where we have a national framework and a national policy of LGBT inclusive education. And the purpose of that policy framework and the purpose of that educational response is really to address exactly what we've been speaking about this morning. We, as I say, consistently see disproportionately higher levels of LGBT-related prejudice and bullying in our schools, and so we do need to think more carefully about what educational responses should we be having. So for schools, and I'm conscious that there could actually be teachers or parents or educators listening, for schools there are broadly two approaches that need to be taken when we're looking at any type of prejudice-based bullying or prejudice-based behaviour, but specifically when we're looking at something like homophobia or LGBT-related prejudice. Schools need to be equipped to respond to incidents when they happen, so we need to be able to give teachers and school staff and adults working in education settings the confidence to address this type of language and to use effective challenge techniques. But they also need to be equipped to prevent this type of thing from happening in the first place. So, like all forms of prejudice, homophobia, homophobic language, homophobic bullying arises from stereotypes, it arises from stigma, and it arises from negative cultural perceptions. So the way that you address that is through an educational approach. And that's where this more proactive curriculum-based measure comes in, which is what we've got in Scotland with LGBT inclusive education. So what that can look like, for example, is we've been talking about primary schools. So in the primary school setting, when young people are learning about diverse families, they might also see representation of families with same-sex parents. When they're learning about bullying or they're learning about discrimination, they would also learn about homophobic bullying. They might use, for example, the phrase "that's so gay" as a case study. And as they graduate through their learning experience at school, they also start to learn about notable past and present figures. So Ian was talking about Alan Turing. A lot of schools will teach about Alan Turing because a lot of schools will do World War II. And it gives them an opportunity to look at not only what they've kind of already been looking at in their learning with prejudice and discrimination, but it gives them the opportunity to look at a notable figure from British life, his experiences, and to do that in such a way that increases awareness and understanding of LGBT people. And we know that that approach is very effective. And so for teachers or parents that are interested in that, the Scottish Government does have a range of resources available to support schools, and they are available on its national platform, LGBT Education. This is definitely something that should be being done in schools already, and teachers in Scotland especially are equipped and supported with the tools they need to take that forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, unfortunately, we're kind of out of time. Ian, just briefly, because I know you've got your new book out, which is The Boy Who Cried Ghost, I think available for pre-order, so it's not out yet.
It's not out yet, no, but you can pre-order it. I always try and encourage people to go to their local independent bookshop and order it. But yes, it's the story of Richard, who has obsessive compulsive disorder, which is something I was actually diagnosed with when I was 17, which was definitely impacted upon by the bullying I experienced. So it's about Richard, his experiences of OCD, and a very thrilling, spooky, goosebumps type story. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us. That's Ian Eagleton there, and Glitter Boy was his first book. And thanks to you as well, Jordan Daly, Director of Time for Inclusive Education. Thank you.
We believe our ghost is Molly Woodruff.
Our apparitions are very friendly.
He jumped because suddenly it got very cold, really cold. She sat in his lap.
I'm Alan Byrne. Do you believe? I'll show you tales of the supernatural starting Halloween night on 13 Eyewitness News. We'll meet a man who hunts ghosts, hear first-hand accounts of meetings with his spirits, and listen for things that go bump in the night, beginning Halloween, only on 13 Eyewitness News.
We've been talking about your super granny this morning, and I said in response to a text before, oh, who still gets the old China tea set out? And I've got a text in going, me, Kay? I'm addicted to China tea sets. Can't pass a charity shop without collecting another set. Love it. My granny would get up early, leave us in bed to start the coal fire. So the house was toasty for us, and she made the very best tablet in the world, bar none. Well, all I can say is you're very lucky that Karen McKenzie isn't here today, because she swears that she makes the best tablet, but she's not here, so we'll put it to your granny there. You can keep them coming, 80295. Martin James, our consumer rights expert, is here this morning, so anything at all that you've paid good money for and you think you've got a raw deal, give him a call, 08085 92 95 00. You can text 80295. The lines are open now.
Get in touch with BBC Radio Scotland.
Who in the blue hell are you?
Mornings on BBC Radio Scotland.
Right, just coming up to 11 o'clock. I've been looking forward to this, actually. This is our time to catch a break. We're being joined every day this week around about this time by Stuart Sandeman, who is a breathing expert. Morning to you, Stuart.
Morning, Kay.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. I was so disappointed that I wasn't here yesterday, because I really enjoyed it on Monday. And I've got a question for you, because I was practicing what you were telling me about breathing and how it can regulate your emotions. So I was lying in bed practicing this, and I was breathing in, and I was thinking, should my chest be rising or should my belly be going out? Because I can do both. Very talented, Stuart.
Great question. When you're lying in your bed and trying to get to sleep, your belly should be rising on your in-breath and then falling back as you breathe out. So this is the diaphragmatic breath. So when our diaphragm descends downwards, our belly will rise before the chest.
You know, it's a terrible thing. This is a female thing. I can't believe I'm going to say this, because it sounds like I'm a 300 years old. Women have a terrible habit of breathing in and pulling their stomach in because of photographs. This is terrible. But you're not supposed to do that.
I know, it's terrible. You're talking about grannies. My granny used to say that to my sisters. Hold your stomach in.
Breathe in, smile and hold your tummy in. That's terrible. But that's the opposite of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, well, that can be the problem where we have this dysfunctional breathing because we're holding our stomach in, and that might be guys as well, to hold in, create that six-pack that they want. So, yeah, holding our breath is a real issue. We really want to be relaxing our breath as possible and using our diaphragm so our belly will rise.
Right, okay. Well, I will practice that. It was a question I wanted to ask you. Well, would you like to take us through today's, am I getting the language right, the practice? Do we call it a breathing practice?
I'd love to. So yesterday we looked at, I often call it if in doubt, breathe it out, slowing our breath down and really having a long out breath so that we can feel calm. Today I wanted to use a breath that really helps if we're feeling a bit distracted or a bit overwhelmed. And it's something really simple. It's one of my favorite breath techniques to use. And it's something called box breathing or square breathing. Okay. So we're going to breathe in for a count of 4 through the nose. Pause at the top for 4. And then breathe out through the nose for 4. And pause at the bottom for 4. Okay. So let's go again. So we're breathing in for 4. Feel your belly rise. So your belly comes out. Pause at the top. Now breathe out for 4. Relax your shoulders. Relax your face. Good. And hold for 4. Let's do one more round. So in for 4, belly rise. Pause and hold for 4. And breathe out for 4. And hold for 4. to rhythm now. So a really simple technique that we're doing in quite a meditative way this morning, but I often do it as I'm walking. So breathe for 4 steps, hold for 4 steps, breathe out for 4 steps, and hold for 4 steps. It really balances the carbon dioxide and oxygen levels, and it sends a coherent rhythm from our breath to our heart, to our brain, so we can really start to focus and find a bit more flow in our day if we're feeling certainly overwhelmed or distracted.
I love it. Sure, I must admit I took a bit of convincing on this, but I am now absolutely a convert. I've really enjoyed this. And I'm not here for the rest of the week and I'm really disappointed, but I will be practising what you have taught me. And can I assure you my belly was rising? Rather more than I would want it to, but never mind, it did the trick. Thank you so much. That's Stuart Sandeman, Breathing Out. We'll be back tomorrow just before 11.
In addition to cash awards, a member of the winning rooting section chosen at random will receive a Westclox digital dial light alarm clock. Wood grain finish lighted dial backed by years of experience. Westclox Italy Industries Company. And Tootsie Roll flavor rolls, chocolate and a rainbow of flavors you can eat. Tootsie Roll flavor rolls. And from Wilton, the original cake decorating and party ideas book, plus Wilton's 3-tier cake, Winnie the Pooh, and 33-piece professional cake decorating kit. And Spray and Vac cleans rugs and carpets without scrubbing. Just spray on and vacuum away the dirt. Spray and Vac from Glamourine. And back to more Tattletales in just a moment.
Well, Supergrands, your Supergrands this morning. This is following the news that the original Supergrand, Gudrun Ure, passed away at the age of 98. John says, what about granddads? Every Sunday, regardless of the weather, would go for a walk around town, along the shore or to the countryside. He taught me about nature, how to guddle trout, catch crabs, forage for wild fruit and nuts. He always had a bar of chocolate and some fruit in his great coat pocket, and we would always end up with a pokey hat on the way home. Then Granny would have a super tea ready on the table. Great days. Keep your memories coming in of your super gran or indeed granddad. 80295. Still to come this morning.
Help, I need somebody. Help, I need somebody. Help, not just anybody. Help, you know I need someone.
Consumer rights expert is here to help, and we've got a load of calls lined up, but there's still time to get in touch. 08085 92 95 00 is the number to call. You can text, of course, 80295. If you've paid good money and you've got a bad deal, then Martin will do his very best to help. We'll need it.
Your mornings just got better.
This year on BBC Radio Scotland.
Hopefully, once we get to Germany, we will be living la vida loca. Here's Ricky Martin.
Have a
Ricky Martin, Living La Vida Loca. Ken, our very naughty engineer, has just said he puts it in the same bracket. What did you say, Joe Dolce and Shut Up in Your Face? Really, that is sacrilege. Though having said that, I quite like Joe Dolce and Shut Up in Your Face. It's catchy. It's catchy. Listen, I never said I had great musical taste. I've never ever said that. I am really enjoying all these texts that are coming in about your super grands. This is from JJ. Says, my granny was the business. A war widow. My grandpa had TB for 2 years before he died. My granny could wire a ceiling light up. She was a civil servant and she could do people's books with her eyes closed. Now, I know what you're saying, but I'm not sure that is a good idea. She also taught piano. She brought up 3 children. She was generous and strict, and I loved her. She sounds great, JJ. You can keep them coming in, 80295. And also keep your questions coming in for Martin James, our consumer expert, because he's here right now, ready to help you out if you are having a bit of a nightmare with something that you've paid good money for, but you're getting a raw deal. 08085 92 95 00 is the number. Whether it's a faulty product, an online purchase gone wrong, you're looking for the best options for insurance, whatever it is, Martin's here to help. Welcome back, Martin.
Hello, Kay, and thank you, because I'm going to have Shut Up in Your Face stuck in my head all day now. Cheers for that. What's the matter with you? Hey!
Shut up in your face. I love it. I love it. Anyway, listen, we're going to get our money's worth out of you today because we've got loads of calls, so let's crack on. We've got Tom, who's in London, actually. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Kay.
How are you this morning?
I'm very good, thank you. I was in Glasgow last year, and it was sunny every day. I was very disappointed, but I expected the rain. That's what I went for, but no, it was lovely. I went for the Cycling World Championship.
Oh, yeah, well, gosh, that was a brilliant event, wasn't it? Well, listen, come another time, and we'll get you some rain, Tom. Don't worry about it. So I'm taking for that you're a cyclist, and you've had a problem with a stolen bike, is this right?
Yeah, ironically, it's connected, actually.